Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something that I think almost every artist has faced at some point. The struggle of being an overthinker in art. And the trap of constantly comparing ourselves to others. Because honestly, this is something I deal with way more often than I'd like to admit. You know those days when you sit down, open your sketchbook or tablet, you're ready to draw, but then all of a sudden you feel like you've forgotten how to draw? That is me way too often. I'd say like 90% of the time. I think it's an identity crisis. I'll tell myself, it doesn't look how I want it to. And then the spiral begins. I'll ask myself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I draw today? And once that thought takes root, it's like everything I put down feels wrong or foreign. And sure, I'll try to be productive. I'll go look at anatomy references, pull up tutorials, scroll through Pinterest boards. When the lines don't come out how I imagine them, I stop and just shut down. And then I give up. Anyone else do that, or is it just me? Then, to make things worse, I start comparing myself. And not just to anyone, but to the artist who just seems so confident. The ones with sharp, clean, quick line work. The ones who've clearly mastered their style. And then there's me. Messy sketches, self-doubt, deleting more than I draw. I'll look at their work and think, wow, they've got it figured out. Why can't I? It's funny though, because I know deep down that every artist has been where I am. But in that moment, all I see is their success stacked against my chaos and self-loathing and self-doubt. Usually after a rough session like that, mentally breaking myself down, I just want to give up. Not forever, but just long enough to say, you know what? I'm done. Art and we are not speaking today. But here's the kicker. Instead of really giving up, I end up diving into a cycle. I'll start hunting for art lessons online, looking for courses, starting to work back in Blender again, watching my favorite YouTube teachers, or I'll just completely jump into a different medium altogether. And then, I quit halfway. Every time. I would have been a pro at Blender by now. What's humbling though is realizing that the artists I admire, they have bad days too. They've openly said it. They push through those moments, and instead of stopping, they turn them into something. And honestly, that pushes me. It's like a reminder that struggling doesn't mean I'm failing. It just means that I'm human. If I could step outside of my own head for just a second, I think I'd tell myself, it will get better. You just have to understand what isn't working, figure out why, and then grow from there. Easier said than done, right? But it's true. Every line we hate, every drawing that we abandon, every canvas we close out of frustration, they're still stepping stones. They still count. Like, think back. Can you remember a time that you looked at your old art and realized that you've improved? Even if it didn't feel like it at the time? That is proof. That is growth. I remember when I was a kid, 7 or 8, I was really getting into art, and what pushed me into it was Gundam Seed. I was really into drawing Athranzala, Kira, all of them, and I used to hate my art and hate myself so much because I couldn't draw the characters the way they looked in the shows. And I would have friends and just people tell me, oh, you're not good at that, or you're never going to be good at art. Isn't that crazy to say to a kid? Anyway, I wish that I could tell myself back then, hey, don't believe what anybody says. You love this. You love art. Keep going. You're going to do great. You're going to be fine. You're going to do better. And I am doing a lot better. So if you feel like you haven't made progress, just really go back and look at your art over the last few years. Humble yourself. One thing that helps me get out of my own head is music. For me, it's a mix. Some days I'll listen to classical or instrumental tracks to calm me down. Other times I'll throw on some metal or alt rock, even J-rock or Korean R&B, some indie. It really depends on the mood that I need to be in. And honestly, sometimes the right playlist can pull me back into the zone when nothing else can. It's like giving my brain a rhythm to follow when my hands can't really find it. What about you? Do you guys have a go-to playlist or a song that instantly puts you in a creative headspace? I think a lot of us overthinkers put so much pressure on ourselves. We expect perfection right away, and when that doesn't happen, we spiral right down the stairs. But here's the thing. Art isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be expressive. I tell myself this all the time, and do I take my own advice? Clearly not. But I try. I'm trying. It's a work in progress. I am a work in progress. So if you've ever sat there and felt like your messy sketches just don't measure up, or that your art just doesn't look right today, I want you to know you're not alone. I feel that too. Clearly, if you haven't been listening to this whole video. And if you compare yourself to others, same, all the time, every day. But instead of letting it shut us down, what if we let it fuel us? What if instead of saying, I'll never be that good, we start saying, wow, I can learn from that. Here's a tip for something that I really like to do. If I'm in a serious stump, I'll look at a reference and I'll draw that and try to draw it perfectly, like exactly T for T, 1 for 1, and then see what I did wrong and what feels awkward, and try to understand what the artist did to make it work for them. And then that way I'll understand, okay, so the eye needs to be curved more when it's on a slant or an angle. The shoulder should be tucked in a bit more, or the leg should be angled this way. Hopefully that little tip can help you out. Just don't trace anything and pass it off as your own, okay? No. Being an overthinker in art is so exhausting. Comparing yourself to others can feel like quicksand. But it doesn't have to keep us stuck. We can still move forward. So the next time you're staring at your sketch and hating every line, remember that even the artists you admire felt that way once. They probably feel like that right now. Remember, it's okay to have bad days. And remember that growth comes from the messy, imperfect, frustrating moments just as much as the good ones. And hey, if you're struggling with this right now, drop a comment below. Tell me how you deal with those days. Let's remind each other that we're not alone in this. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this talk and you want more honest, real conversations, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with another artist who might need to hear it. Until next time, keep creating, even when it feels impossible.